Hello there, you're listening to the Smooth Traffic F1 special for the year of 2017. If you're in the future, this podcast is outdated. In this episode, we're going to be looking at all of the things that might happen in the F1 season of 2017. If you're in the future, you may already know what's happened. So anyway, we're going to go look at the teams, circuits, drivers, cars, rule changes, and we're going to make our usual bold predictions that last year we got absolutely spot wrong. Teams and drivers. Teams and drivers. Teams and drivers.
That's where we're starting this podcast. Thanks for that, John.
Oh, I like to do an intro. So, teams and drivers, much the same as last year with the exception of Manor, who have dropped out.
Bad times.
Unsurprisingly, because they were skint.
And pretty terrible.
And terrible, yeah. So, not really a surprise that they're gone. They've been replaced by McLaren, who are the new terrible team in Formula 1. And behind the wheel of their two cars is a chap called Fernando Alonso, who's still the best driver on the grid, and a Belgian by the name of Stoffel van Dorn. I was going to say Stoffel my door then.
Stoffel my door?
Yeah, Stoffel my door. Makes more sense, but maybe that's what it means in Belgian.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I feel we should clarify early on, we have had a bit of alcohol before recording this episode.
Yes.
So
we've had a stein of German Fest beer in honour of world champion Nico Rosberg, who has retired after winning the title, much to the annoyance of Lewis Hamilton, because it means he'll never get to beat him.
True.
Nico Rosberg is the only F1 driver in history who is the undisputed world champion.
I feel I made this point when he retired and we discussed it several episodes ago.
Maybe you did.
And I said that's the best way to go out in any sport, as the undisputed champion.
Undisputed world champion Nico Rosberg. So yeah, we've had a litre of beer in a big glass from Lidl's. By the way, get down to Lidl's, $4.99, a massive glass and a massive can of beer for $4.99. Really good value.
Yeah.
Tasty
Other supermarkets are available. Other beers are available.
No, they're not.
Other sizes of glass are available.
Possibly.
Anyway, getting back to the Formula 1.
Go on.
Yes, McLaren, Stoffel van Dorn and Fernando Alonso.
I don't know much about Stoffel van Dorn.
He's Belgian.
He's Belgian, so he'll do well at Spa.
You'd like to think so.
It's his back garden. He'll do well at Spa. He's awfully young, isn't he? How old is he?
He's 24.
He's 24.
So that's not particularly young for young Formula 1 drivers.
No, true, but that is still quite young, isn't it? He looks young.
True, but bear in mind we're dealing with a time now where you've got drivers like Max Verstappen coming through, who is, 12, something like that?
He's 12, yeah.
Yes. So, 24. Van Dorn's one of the older drivers on the grid.
Yeah.
Basically.
He's close to retirement.
Yeah.
This might be his last year in Formula 1.
It could well be. But I don't think it'll be the last year for Fernando Alonso.
No?
No. He has firmly said that he's keen to see how the current rules and regulations progress. But he's very disappointed with the Honda engines.
Did you see that clip on the F1 website earlier on? Or was it the BBC website? It was on some kind of sporting website where the drivers were asked, I think it was Hamilton, Ricciardo, Vettel and Alonso, and they were asked, what would you add to Formula 1? Most of the guys suggested a race in somewhere that doesn't yet have a race, and Fernando just said equal engines.
Yeah.
He's already looking sad.
I think that tells the whole story about how Fernando's season is going to go, really.
Yeah.
But on the plus side for him, he doesn't have Jenson Button to battle it out with.
Yes,
so,
true.
So he should be number one driver, really.
If he's not number one driver this year... No, I'm not going to say it, because last year on this episode I predicted that Fernando would retire before the end of the season.
You did.
In spirit, he did. So I wasn't wrong, because he is retired, mentally.
I don't think that's true.
He's mentally retired.
He's been very vocal about the fact that he wants to continue in Formula 1. Whether that will be with McLaren, if they have a terrible season this year, who knows? But anyway, there are other teams on the grid.
There's a few.
Moving forwards up the grid,
Yep.
Let's look at it from a realistic point of view.
Yeah.
Down there with McLaren, Sauber.
Yeah.
Sauber, Marcus Ericsson. Yeah, that says it all.
Yeah.
And also Pascal Wehrlein.
I like Pascal Wehrlein.
I was very impressed by him at Manor last season.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not a huge step up to Sauber, but it's a step up to a team that is as quick as the back end of the pack, as opposed to Manor, which were, quite a way off. Well, and he was getting a lot out of that car.
Yeah. If it's true that Ferrari are the quickest this year, will they benefit from having Ferrari technology under the Sauber carbon fibre skin pack?
No.
Okay.
They have last year's engines.
Oh, well, they're going to fail then.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But someone that does have this year's Ferrari engines, Haas. Romain Grosjean, Kevin Magnussen. How do we feel?
I like Kev.
Just Kev?
Yeah, I like Kev. Well, we're on first name, nickname terms.
Are you?
Yeah. Kev.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he'll do well. I think I predict Kevin Magnussen to finish with at least 10 points this season.
First prediction of the episode.
Yeah, bold prediction number 1.
Top work. I think Haas, I know this is very much a phrase that you use in most other sports, but I think Haas have to be careful about second season syndrome.
What's that? Is that an analogy?
Well, it's like in the Premier League in football, when you get promoted. If you stay up the first season, people then say that teams struggle because of second season syndrome. Because first season you're there, you just want to stay up.
You're really pumped.
Then the second season you don't really know how much further you want to try and go, and a lot of teams will get relegated. But I think it's a similar thing for Haas, because they started last season exceptionally well for a brand new team.
So they're going to get relegated this year?
Well, I don't think they're going to get relegated, because that's not how Formula 1 works.
Oh.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see them at the back end of the Constructors' Championship come the end of the season.
So just above the relegation zone?
Yes. If there's a relegation zone, Sauber and McLaren will be fighting it out for the 1 or 2 positions. But I think Haas will just be safe enough.
McLaren are like Aston Villa, aren't they? They used to be quite good.
Well, I think that's a bit generous, isn't it? To Villa, I mean, not McLaren.
Fair point. And Haas are like Brentford.
Haas are like MK Dons.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's probably a bit harsh as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, steering it away from football again. How do you feel about Haas? Do you see any progression from them?
No, they disappointed me last season because I thought they had some Ferrari bits and I thought they might do well, but they weren't really that good. They were good at the start, and then they kind of tailed off, so I don't know, really. I like Romain Grosjean and I like Kevin Magnussen, so if I was the team boss of Haas... Jim Haas, is that his name? Eddie Haas? Frank Haas? Ron Haas?
Any more guesses?
Ron Haas is when you try and deliver a package to the wrong address.
It is, of course, Gene.
Gene.
Haas.
Like the X-Men Gene.
No, that's Jean Grey. That's a lady. Gene Haas is a man.
Sorry,
like Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek.
I thought that was a fruit.
You remember Mark Genet?
Yeah.
He spells Gene like Mark Genet spells his surname.
Oh, okay. So right. Genet Haas is the team captain of Haas F1 team who are looking to avoid relegation, but they've got 2 outstanding players in the form of Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well put.
They'll be all right, won't they?
Oh yeah, I don't think they won't finish bottom of the championship.
They'll pinch a 10th here and there.
Well, I mean, you say they'll pinch a 10th, but you've already boldly said that Kevin Magnussen's going to get 10 points. So he's going to need more than just.
He's going to finish 10th 10 times.
Okay.
Which is 1 out of every 2 races, more or less.
Okay. Well, let's move up the grid then.
Okay.
So up from Haas, probably looking around the Toro Rosso sort of area.
Oh.
Toro Rosso, Renault. Let's go Renault actually, because I think Toro Rosso got a nice looking car this season.
Oh.
And I think that we need to save that for a minute.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Renault. Nico Hülkenberg, Jolyon Palmer. Palmer was quoted as saying something like, "I've got a really bitchin' looking car this season."
That's true.
I think that's what the kids say.
Yeah.
I just worry about Renault. I feel that they're not going backwards by any means, but I don't really feel that they're going forwards in any respect.
I don't know why they've come back to Formula 1. Because they're not competitive. And I don't think they will be competitive for a long time. I mean, we might be proved wrong when the race at Australia gets going.
Well, I believe that Renault, when they came back into Formula 1, their aim was to be a competitive team by this season. Not to say competitive as in mixing it with the middle ground, but I've got a funny feeling that I seem to remember reading somewhere that when they came back this time round, they were aiming at this season to be challenging for podiums and whatnot.
Yeah.
just don't think they've got the driver lineup to warrant that. And I think that's reflected in the fact that they're not a team that's high enough up in the drivers' opinions, I think, to grab a really top driver.
I don't understand why someone like Nico Hülkenberg, who is one of the best drivers in F1, has taken a step down from Force India to Renault. Because Hulk could drive for practically anyone on the grid, I think, and do a decent job. He would have been a good shout for the Mercedes seat, actually, if he'd waited long enough. He must have been kicking himself when that came up. But, yeah, I don't know why he's gone there. I think someone at Renault must have said, ooh, we've discovered a new type of electricity to power the electric systems. Soon we're going to be really fast. And Nico's gone, ooh, okay, I'm up for that.
Okay.
But it seems odd that he's there. I mean, I rate Hülkenberg. I think he's really, really nice. And really, really good at, the game of driving cars. But Jolyon, we have to wait and see. I want him to do well. I can't say his name. I don't even know if I've said his name properly. Jolyon?
No, you just did first time.
Jolyon.
Yeah.
It feels like it needs an I in there instead of a Y.
I think you might be overthinking this.
Maybe. But I don't know about Jolyon. I hope he does well. Obviously, because he's a British driver and there's only 2 left. Now that Jenson Button's gone to the big retirement home in the McLaren office. But, I don't know. Renault will be down there, won't they? Do you reckon they'll pinch a 10th?
I reckon they'll manage enough point scoring positions to be okay.
Okay.
They'll stick above Haas and McLaren and Sauber, who are in the relegation zone.
Does that mean they won't get relegated?
Renault will not be relegated.
Bold prediction, number 2.
Because again, it doesn't work like that in Formula 1. But anyway.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, I think a natural point to move on then is Force India. Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon, the Frenchman.
That's another name I
Manor.
can't say. Is that a real name? Ocon.
Yes.
Like Akon.
Not like Akon.
The international hit machine.
If you will, yeah.
If he has any accidents this season, I'm going to call him the international hit machine.
Okay.
And it'll make perfect sense.
Right. I don't think that's particularly relevant to our discussion, but very good. So, Force India. They've come out with a lovely pink colour scheme for their car.
I like that.
Which I feel is very bold and, it's a positive, obviously sponsor-driven decision, but a positive decision nonetheless. I'm a big fan of Sergio Perez as well.
I am as well.
Got a lot of time for Perez.
I like him.
I think he's another driver who could easily get himself a seat at the top table of teams.
McLaren bottled him when he was at McLaren. They bottled it and they let him go, and they shouldn't have, because he was really promising and I think he would have done really well. I think they probably let him go because Jenson got a bit moany. Sergio's overtaking me again. I think that's why they let him go.
You bad-mouthing Button?
I am going to badmouth Battenberg. I am going to badmouth Button in this case because I think I heard him complaining so many times on the radio when Sergio was his teammate about various things. Sergio's right up my arse again. And then, lo and behold, Sergio gets let go at the end of the season to go to wherever it is he went at the time. I can't even remember now. Did he go to Force India? Maybe he did. I don't know. I can't remember that far back. I've had a Stein. But I
want to say Sauber. I seem to remember him finishing 3rd in a Sauber at Malaysia.
I think that was his first team.
But was that before?
Yeah, I think that was his first team.
You might be right, John.
Yeah.
Let's presume that for once in your life you're right.
Yeah.
And he actually went straight to Force India after McLaren. I think he's continued to make a name for himself at Force India. And obviously they've got the Mercedes power unit as well, which is vital in that midfield battle. And, having spoken about Renault, obviously Toro Rosso powered by the Renault unit.
Yeah.
Williams powered by the Mercedes unit. I could really see Force India, Williams, Toro Rosso, maybe Renault at a push, having a good old midfield ding-dong this season.
I'd like to think Williams would be up there.
Well, we've got a new driver lineup.
Yeah.
They've got this...
kind of.
Well, they have. They've got this brand new... Obviously, Felipe Massa retired.
Oh, he did.
So they brought in a brand new driver called Felipe Massa.
He looks a lot like the old one.
He does, doesn't he? But the old one retired, so...
Is he Dutch?
No, he's Brazilian.
That's a funny coincidence.
Isn't it just? And then obviously...
Stroll?
Lance Stroll, the Canadian. Now, Valtteri Bottas, who we'll come on to shortly, obviously, has moved to a team higher up the grid, and Williams took the step to replace him with Canadian
Stroll.
Lance Stroll.
It's a strong name, isn't it? Lance Stroll.
It's a very North American name, I would say.
It's
Lance.
It's like a name you would see at the end
Stroll.
credits of an adult movie.
I'll take your word for that, John. You're clearly a knowledge on these things.
Ben told me.
I believe that, yeah.
Yeah.
You may have noticed that obviously Ben isn't here for this episode, and it's because he...
He's been killed.
No. Has he? What have you done?
I'm not saying yet. You'll find out in the court.
Okay, well, all I was going to say was Ben isn't a hardcore Formula 1 fan. So
No, he likes Robo Race. Tit.
Let's not get onto that.
Yeah, alright.
So, let's move up the grid.
Do we
So we've gone from
we
Williams.
haven't talked about Toro Rosso, really.
No,
have
well,
we?
I was kind of bringing them all together. So
Yeah, you did well there. I was not on the same wavelength.
thanks. I'm trying to keep this together
Yeah.
while your drunken ramblings take you who knows where.
Semi-drunken.
Anyway, Toro Rosso, Renault Power Unit, same driver lineup, Kvyat and Carlos Sainz Jr.
Yeah.
And a lovely, lovely livery for this season.
It looks delicious.
I would probably say the best livery on the grid.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It looks absolutely sublime, and it's a shame because they're powered by Renault now, which means it will go like a snail.
True.
But Carlos Sainz Jr. is a really, really tasty driver, and I think he might actually get better and better. And I think maybe one day he might join a big team and do really, really good things, unlike his teammate Daniel KVYAT.
Kvyat.
Fiat. Yes, him, who's leaving Formula 1 at the end of the season. Bold prediction number 3.
Why?
Because he's hopeless.
He's hopeless.
Yep.
What? Hang on, where's this come from?
He got sacked last year from Red Bull, and now he's an old young driver in a young driver team.
Look, I rate Max Verstappen, but I felt that the treatment of Kvyat was very harsh by Red Bull.
Yeah.
However, I will agree, since he then dropped down to Toro Rosso, disappointing performances. The odd exception, but overall, disappointing performances.
I think he's lost his mojo.
Yeah, no, if anything, it probably warranted the drop. But is that because he was dropped from Red Bull? You know, if you were... Do you think about it though, John?
Yeah,
If you were... Say you were a Formula 1 driver, and Ron Dennis comes up to you,
Hi, Ron.
because obviously Ron is your boss,
Right, Ron.
at the fictional Smooth Traffic Racing team,
Yeah.
and Ron says to you, Johnny, your performances, they're okay, but we've got this new young lad coming through, Max Verstappen. We're going to get him in the car. We're going to drop you to our sister team. Let's call them Smooth Traffic 2. And you've got to race with Ben for the rest of the season.
Oh,
How do you feel now?
I feel shit because Ben takes the train. He doesn't even know how to drive.
Precisely.
I mean, he does drive, but he doesn't drive, which means he doesn't know how to drive.
Precisely. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen and I are off coming third and fourth in the championship. And you're stuck with Ben on the train.
And he would be telling me stuff about tech.
Exactly. See, you wouldn't enjoy yourself.
I'd be fed up.
So, spare a thought for Daniel Kvyat before you just strike him off.
But that's why I would leave. I would go and race something more exciting, like perhaps an endurance racer, or perhaps I might go to America to have a go in one of those IndyCar-y things.
Moving further up the grid, we come to the big three, as we shall call them. Now, if pre-season testing has told us anything, which it very rarely does, it's that the big three are actually quite close. And by which I mean, they're not really close at all.
No?
Well, Red Bull have not shown the same pace as Mercedes and Ferrari so far.
That's because they're powered by a watch still.
Yes, they are powered by the Tag Heuer power units. That is true.
It just doesn't make sense. My watch is not very powerful. I mean, it's not a Tag Heuer.
Do you have a Tag Heuer?
No, but it still wouldn't... No? Do you think?
You wait. Next season, I reckon... Bold prediction from me. Next season, let's say Nissan. Nissan will enter Formula 1 with Breitling watches. The Nissan Breitling team.
Don't Breitling have a flying team, though?
No, they make watches for flying people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pilots, if you will. But anyway, Red Bull probably nailed on to be third in the Constructors' Championship this season.
I've just realised Red Bull would be perfect for Breitling because Red Bull gives you wings.
Nice.
So a Breitling watch would be spot on. Breitling, if you'd like to sponsor this podcast and give me a nice, huge watch, I would be very much appreciative of it.
And do please tweet us at Smooth Traffic.
Oh yeah, and that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yes, so Red Bull, probably one of the most exciting driver lineups on the grid. Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen.
Yeah, definitely.
Daniel Ricciardo, lovely bloke.
Great bloke.
But knows how to win.
He drinks out of shoes, though.
He's Australian.
Fair point.
Max Verstappen, young, ambitious.
Dutch.
Like
Felipe Massa.
Very talented. Fantastic driving in the rain last year in Brazil.
He's great.
He's beyond anything that we've seen in quite some time.
If he was old enough, I'd buy him a drink.
Yeah, well, one day, John. Obviously, a lot of people raved about Lewis Hamilton when he came onto the scene, and he did make a big impact. Whether you like him or not, Lewis Hamilton made a big impact when he came into Formula 1.
That's true.
But I would say Max Verstappen is probably one of those drivers that you only see one or two in a generation.
Yeah.
I think he's got the potential to be another Michael Schumacher.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
To be an Ayrton Senna. He could be an icon. He could be an icon for generations to come. Not as in driving for generations, I mean generations coming into the sport afresh.
Well, technology's moving on. He could drive for generations.
What, in Robo Race?
I mean,
You
maybe.
thinking they could take his mind
Take
and
his
put
conscience
it
and put it into a robot and race it.
Interesting. We'll talk to Ben about that on the next episode.
Yeah,
because
I like
he'll
that
love
idea.
I think they've got a cracking driver lineup. I just don't think they've quite got enough to jump up into the top spot.
No. Although Adrian Newey is very good at aero, and this year is a much more aero-dominated formula, I suppose. Bigger wings. Wider wings. Wings.
Different types of wing. You're just going to say wings
Wings.
repetitively.
Winglets. They're baby wings.
Well, yes. Little winglets all over the car. Who was it that did that? Arrows, wasn't it? I think it was Arrows. Probably about 7 or 8 years ago, they had a little wing on the front of their car at Monaco. Because they thought, we need extra aero. Let's get another wing on and we'll put it at the front. Completely obscured the driver's view.
When they were on the grid, I used to quiver at the sight of them.
Clever. Most of your jokes are terrible, but that was vaguely bearable, so congratulations.
High five for the listeners.
No. Anyway, so let's move on to the top two, who I think will both be championship contenders this season. Ferrari,
Yep.
Mercedes.
Yep.
Mercedes, we know what they're about.
Boring.
They won the championship last season.
Boring.
They've replaced Nico Rosberg with Valtteri Bottas, a driver who will probably put in some reasonable results, toe the party line,
Yeah.
probably not be a huge challenge to Lewis.
It's a boring
If
appointment by a boring team. And actually, Valtteri is boring because he doesn't even have a proper Finnish name. If he was called Botukanen, I would be much more excited. Much more excited by him. And if his first name was Juha,
You are Botukanen.
then I would be much more excited. But Valtteri sounds kind of mythological. Normally that would be exciting, but no. He needs a beard. That would change me. Change my opinion on him.
So basically, Valtteri Bottas needs to rename himself Juha Botukanen.
Yeah.
Grow a beard,
Yeah.
and then he'll be exciting to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. You've heard it here first. John would be excited by Valtteri Bottas if he grew a beard and changed his name.
Bold prediction, Valtteri Bottas to leave Mercedes by the end of the season and be replaced by...
I think you've made too many bold predictions already.
Oh.
I think you're detracting from the point of a bold prediction.
I
If
like
you make
to-
a prediction about everyone, it's not a bold prediction. You're just
Why?
making predictions for the fun of it.
That's what I do. I predict things. I'm like Mystic Meg.
Anyway, Ferrari
Yeah.
pre-season, they've done very well. They
They look
looked
good.
very fast.
They look good.
There's a good chance that Mercedes probably weren't running at 100% when they were doing testing.
Yeah,
Because it's Mercedes
boring.
and what do they need to do that for? But Ferrari, absolutely fantastic. Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen. I mean, now that Button's gone and Alonso's there with Van Dorn at McLaren, I'd say Ferrari have probably got the most experienced lineup on the grid
Yep.
with those two. World champions, great people, great team. I mean, our bias towards Ferrari was probably quite clear last year when we did this preview show.
Yeah.
But I do feel that they can challenge this season. I really feel that they could be in with a shout at the Constructors' Championship. Whether either of them can get the Drivers' Championship, I'm not so sure. But I think as a team, I think they're probably far enough ahead of Red Bull and will probably do enough to have enough points between them to beat the combination of Hamilton and Bottas to take the Constructors' crown. So that's my bold prediction. And it's not really bold because I think it's probably a reasonable prediction. But I'm going to say Ferrari to win the Constructors' title this season.
I can't see Ferrari winning any trophies this season, apart from race trophies that you can collect on a podium near you. But otherwise, I think Mercedes. Bold prediction, McLaren. No, not had enough beer. Mercedes, I think, will come back with constructors and drivers again. Probably Lewis Hamilton again, and that will make me sad because I don't really like Lewis Hamilton. I don't think he's one of the greats either. So maybe Juha Botukanen can come home with his first World Drivers' Championship and do so while sporting a beard. I would be delighted if so.
That would be very interesting.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
If he did come out of the blocks and blow everyone else away.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. There's our slightly inebriated preview of the teams and drivers for the
Drivers
season.
and teams.
Not a huge amount of changes, if we're completely honest. But
so who's the World Drivers' Champion, King?
Lewis Hamilton.
And the Constructors' Champion is?
Ferrari.
That's interesting. I will go with Valtteri Bottas to win the World Drivers' Championship.
Okay.
And Mercedes to win the Constructors' Championship.
Okay. I'm going to ask you another question now, John.
Go on then.
And I'm going to ask you two questions, actually. Because this is something that I've noticed a lot of publications are doing this year.
Okay.
Who do you think will finish bottom of the Constructors' Championship?
Fernando Alonso.
No, the Constructors' Championship.
In the Alonso Honda Formula 1 team.
Okay, so Team Alonso are going to finish bottom.
Yep.
Okay, and which driver do you think will finish bottom of the Drivers' Championship?
Fernando McLaren of the Alonso Honda Racing team.
So you feel that Alonso is going to finish bottom?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he's already retired in his head.
Right, okay. Interesting. But my second question is going to be, on the assumption that Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari will be the inevitable top three, who will finish fourth in the Constructors' Championship?
Normally I'd say Williams.
Yep.
But I don't trust Lance with his strangely adult material name.
And version 2 Massa.
And yeah, cloned Felipe Massa from Holland. I don't really understand what's going on there. Spooky. So I'm going to go Force India. Ooh. And Sergio Perez.
Bold prediction.
Yep. Circuits!
Inevitably, we now have to discuss the calendar for this Formula 1 season. And there have been some massive changes from last season.
There has.
Where we saw a record 21 rounds. This year, there will be 20 rounds. Because the German Grand Prix has been dropped.
Disgusting.
Well, I think it's more to do with the fact that they couldn't agree terms, but
It's because they've got a crap circuit.
It's despicable. Well, they've got Hockenheim and Nürburgring.
Yeah, but Nürburgring can't afford to host it, and Hockenheim is boring. Like Mercedes. Boring!
Okay, so there we go. According to John Edge, right decision to drop the German Grand Prix.
Yep.
However, big news, the Baku circuit, which was home to the European Grand Prix last season, this season will be the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. There is no European Grand Prix this season. Another massive change for the calendar.
That means I can't criticise it for not being in Europe.
True.
But it's not.
What?
In Europe. Azerbaijan.
Geographically or politically?
Both.
Let's not get bogged down in this.
Incorrect. Anyway.
Yeah, let's not get dragged down by that.
Should we just go through the list and say good Grand Prix, bad Grand Prix?
Okay. I'll read them out.
Okay.
You make a decision, because we know that you love to hear the sound of your own voice.
Harsh.
Round 1, Australia, Melbourne.
Good Grand Prix.
Round 2, China, Shanghai.
Good Grand Prix.
Ooh. Round 3, Bahrain. Bahrain International Circuit.
Politically unstable Grand Prix.
Ooh. Topical. Round 4, Russia Grand Prix. Sochi Autodrome.
I love Vladimir Putin.
Very wise. to say so.
Yep.
Round 5, Spain.
Good Grand Prix.
Round 6, Monaco.
Processional Grand Prix.
Interesting. For anyone listening who doesn't really pay a lot of attention to Formula 1, but will watch the Monaco Grand Prix, 28th of May for your information. Round 7, Canada. Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve.
Good Grand Prix. New aero on the cars, higher speeds. Could be saucy.
Yep. Also happening on the 11th of June,
Good
which
day.
is the birth date of me.
Is it?
Yes.
Alright.
Round 8, Azerbaijan, the Baku City Circuit.
Waste of everybody's time and money Grand Prix. Also not in Europe.
And that will be discussed later when we talk about the changes to the rules for this season. Don't you worry. Round 9, Austria, the Red Bull Ring, which I still call the A1 Ring.
Yeah, good Grand Prix. I like the A1 ring.
Round 10, Great Britain, Silverstone.
Legendary Grand Prix.
Legendary.
Yeah.
Okay. Round 11, Hungary, the Hungaro Ring.
Good Grand Prix. Good circuit. Makes the fast teams look a little bit silly sometimes. Mercedes, you're going to look really silly in Hungary this year. Really silly.
Round 12, Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps.
Legendary Grand Prix. Best circuit on the calendar. Lots and lots of nice trees around Spa-Francorchamps as well. I've been there. Lovely trees.
Good call. Round 13, Italy, Monza.
The most historically significant Grand Prix on the calendar. Monza is like a lovely big cathedral, full of people singing La! All kinds of Formula 1 songs. It's significant. Don't touch Monza, Formula 1. Don't touch Monza. You don't want to know what happens if you touch Monza.
Round 14, Singapore, the Marina Bay Street Circuit.
Glow-in-the-dark Grand Prix.
Round 15, Malaysia, Sepang.
Grand Prix that you will end wet, whether it be through sweat or rain. Pack a towel.
Nice. Good advice.
Yep.
Round 16, one of the traditional closing ceremonies of Formula 1. Japan, Suzuka.
It's a Grand Prix that's in the wrong place in the calendar. It should be round 20. Round 20!
If you'd like to know more about the calendar that should have been, please refer to our Formula 1 special from last year, when we tore apart the calendar and made up our own.
Also, if you listen back to that episode, you'll find that I got all of the predictions spot wrong.
Indeed. Round 17, the United States, the Circuit of the Americas.
Boring, but I like cowboy hats.
Very good. Round 18, Mexico, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez.
Boring, but kind of fun.
And it goes through a baseball ground as well.
It does. Smack it out the ground. Go on, go and get it.
Round 19, Brazil.
Legendary Grand Prix. That's in the wrong place again.
And finally, round 20, where there are no double points or any of that bollocks.
Thank God for that.
Abu Dhabi, the Yas Marina Circuit.
Terrible place to end a season of hot racing.
Good Grand Prix?
Good Grand Prix, though. I actually quite like the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at the Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi, which is in the United Arab Emirates.
It is. It's a nice circuit, and I'm a fan.
I like the lights. There's some hotels that have really nice lights there. I like that.
Easily pleased, aren't you?
I like sparkly things.
Like a magpie. So there we have it. 20 races, the 2017 Formula 1 calendar. Starting off this weekend, Australia, and ending the 26th of November in Abu Dhabi, where someone will be crowned Formula 1 World Champion 2017.
Well, if they're going to do it properly, they'll do it in Japan. Someone will have wrapped the title up by Japan.
So you think that with 4 races left, someone will have won the title?
Yes.
If they're going to do it properly.
If they're going to do it properly, yes.
Are you saying you don't recognise whoever wins the championship if they don't do it by then?
I will recognise whoever's leading the table at the end of the 16th round in Japan. Because every Grand Prix after that is a waste of time. Apart from Brazil, which should be further up the grid, and Azerbaijan should be in the bin. In the circuit bin.
Part of me really hopes that Lewis Hamilton is leading the Drivers' Championship at,
Not going to happen.
Suzuka.
Not going to happen.
Just because you've already said that they will be crowned the champion in your eyes.
They'll be the Johnny champion. Now, Lewis wouldn't want that.
I don't think anyone wants to be the Johnny champion.
Why not?
You need to listen more to what you say, rather than what you think.
I want to be the Johnny champion.
Doesn't surprise me.
Regulations and rules that have changed for this year.
Well, obviously this would be the point of the podcast where Ben would get quite excited, because this is all technology based and
Ben reminds me of Mercedes and Hockenheim.
boring.
Boring.
Okay.
Boring.
Sorry, Ben. Anyway, the biggest news this year is that Bernie Ecclestone has been ousted as the head honcho of Formula One.
Where's he gone?
Nobody knows.
Has he gone to space?
Liberty Media have kidnapped him and put him in a barrel. I would just like to say that I don't really think Liberty Media put Bernie Ecclestone in a barrel. That doesn't make any sense. Why would they? They've just bought him out.
They've thrown him in a canal instead. Go on, Bernie, get out of that. Go on. Look at that mud thick round your ankles. You're never getting out of there, are you?
Do you know what a canal is?
Sometimes.
Anyway, Bernie is sadly now out of the sport. He was very unhappy about it when he was ousted, but I just think, is he really that unhappy? He's made some ridiculous amount of money from selling Formula One. Is it all just a facade?
I think he's probably unhappy because he's probably got a piss bag, and that would be enough to make anyone unhappy.
Oh my goodness. Obviously, if you have a colostomy bag,
bye,
please
Bernie!
accept our sincere apologies for any offence caused. Moving on, obviously that's the biggest change.
Yeah, bye, Bernie.
I think that
don't care.
It can only be good for the sport.
Yep. Go to hell.
Liberty Media have already said that races such as the Baku City Circuit in Azerbaijan will not be high on the priority of things to keep in Formula One.
Because it's shite.
They are looking to expand to new countries apparently, but countries that have a strong Formula One following, rather than just something that will be good for the political climate of F1.
Like France and Germany.
Well, yes, getting France and Germany back in.
I mean, that's crucial.
Absolutely.
The French Grand Prix is one of the oldest Grand Prix ever.
Manicourt, Circuit Paul Ricard.
The other ones.
The list goes on. And
so long, can't even find it.
Precisely. But we've spoken about this before. There are too many.
Girard.
Nice.
Yeah.
There are too many politically motivated
cretins
circuits in the calendar these days.
Yeah.
And as much as Johnny likes Mr. Putin,
I love Vladimir Putin.
I would argue that Sochi is one of them.
No.
The Baku City Circuit, obviously.
Yes, that's the worst circuit I've ever seen.
Yep.
Apart from the Russian circuit, which I am contractually obliged to say I love. Because I love Vladimir Putin. He's a great man. Great circuit, great country. Well done, Vladimir.
What kind of contract have you got with Vladimir? I don't want to know. So yeah, it can only be good for the sport, in my opinion. As much as I think we're always very quick to pick on the bad points of Bernie Ecclestone's tenure. 40-year tenure. 40-year tenure, I would point out.
Yeah.
But in that 40 years, if you look at how far Formula One has come, ignoring the last 10 years, if you ignore the last 10 years, if you look at the first 30 years of Bernie Ecclestone's tenure as chief executive of Formula One, I would say that he did a bang-up job.
So Bernie Ecclestone is like Arsene Wenger.
Yes.
Good when he came in.
Good analogy.
Crap at the end.
So aside from that, there are a few technical changes for this season.
Do you want me to read them out, Kingy?
I'm not particularly bothered. Cars are getting wider. Cars are getting longer.
Longer.
Tyres are getting wider.
Wings.
Wings are getting bigger.
Barge boards.
You're literally just reading random words out of the list that we have, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Cameras.
Why didn't you say bigger and longer diffuser?
I thought it was a type of Hoover.
No.
Oh.
Well, maybe. But no. Yeah, so there are a lot of changes surrounding the cars themselves. Generally, they're getting bigger, they're getting lower, they're getting faster.
And wider.
And a lot of aerodynamics is going into it.
Mm.
And I think
shark fins. Ugh.
Yeah, there's a lot of shark fins. The other thing we touched on last season was that obviously Pirelli were already working on tyres for this coming season, last season. They're now ready. The wet tyre was demonstrated during the testing a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
And they are massive. They're absolutely massive, the tyres. I know that we've said that the tyres are getting wider, but the tyres are absolutely massive, and the grooves in them are so minimal. You just think, is that really going to have a massive impact on wet weather? And I realise I said massive a lot of times then. But
massive wings.
I believe that they're still trying to bring the price down of the power units and all that rubbish that's going into the cars, but that's not really something for us to worry about.
No, don't care.
We're not team directors, so we're not looking to save any money anyway.
Nope.
The Max Verstappen rule has been revoked regarding braking late to defend positions and aggressive defensive driving and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That can only be good for the sport, I think.
Yeah.
Personally. And I just think that generally we're looking at a fairly exciting season for a change. I know that last year we had the positivity of Nico winning the World Championship.
Yeah.
And he deserved to win that championship. But Formula 1 is often criticised for being a procession. Probably Monaco as the exception these days. I feel that this season could be quite an exciting season for Formula 1. I can tell by the look on your face, John, that you disagree immensely.
You know when you've asked a woman to go out with you several times and she said no?
No, because no means no, so after one, that's me done.
Let's assume that rule doesn't apply. On the 7th time you ask her, you're not expecting her to say yes, are you, on the 7th time? You're expecting her to say no all over again. And you just feel that disappointment all over again, like all the other times before, like, oh, for goodness sake, not again. That's how I think this season's going to go.
You think that we're going to have 7 moments during the season where you think it's going to get exciting, and then no?
No, I think that this season is going to be dull. And Mercedes are going to dominate it. Boring Mercedes.
Well, there we go.
We haven't really said much about the rules, but the cars are bigger, they go faster, the tyres are wider. If you want to know any more, maybe you should just have a look at yourself. Bigger, wider, faster. There's nothing else you need to worry about. If there is, you're a nerd. Well, it's time for us to go now. But thanks for listening to this 2017 preview of the Formula 1 World Championship season of 2017. We've had a run through the teams, the drivers, the circuits, the rules and regulations.
Vaguely.
And we've probably made some predictions that are definitely going to be wrong by next year.
Absolutely.
Anything to add, King? Any more bold predictions?
No more bold predictions?
I've got one.
Okay.
Nico Rosberg. I'm going to move close to the microphone here because this one's important. Nico Rosberg to have agreed a contract for the 2018 season by the end of the 2017 season. Ask yourself one thing. Why is Nico back in the pit lane already? Got my detective hat on, Nico. I'm watching you.
So there we have it. If you have any bold predictions for this season's Formula 1 World Championship, Constructors' Championship, or anything else relating to the season, do please tweet us at Smooth Traffic. You can tweet Johnny directly at TheJohnnyEdge. You can tweet me directly at RobertKingESQ, and you can even tweet Ben directly at The Face of Ben. I think that's about it from Johnny and I.
Yep.
Obviously, if you're a subscriber to our podcast on iTunes, if you haven't already, if you could rate and review us, it really does help. If you're a fan of the podcast generally, we've had a couple of weeks where we haven't released anything, but this one's going out now, and
it's my fault.
Within the week, we're hoping to have another episode out as well to try and play a bit of catch up. And yes, it is all John's fault, so if you've been missing us, tweet John, blame him.
I broke my microphone.
He didn't break it, he's just terrible with technology. So, until next time, from Johnny, I, and the absent Ben Pierce, Toodle Pip.
Drive safe and don't take heroin.